I'm going to attempt to record this video with no notes, no reading from a script, even though I have written notes and notes of this. And I've recorded this many times already, which kind of started on the day that I celebrated my 27th birthday. But I figured that I was keeping everything too concise, and I think that it would be easier for me to just share this story based truly off how I recall it and the reflections that I have at this point in my life. There's probably going to be moments where my camera cuts out, so I might have to piece it together a little bit, but I'm going to do everything that I can to share this story from exactly how I recall it. Now, the reason that I've recorded this a few times already is because I initially couldn't fully decide how I wanted to share this part of my life, but I thought more and more about the fact that this video is just as much for me to look back on as it is for other people to watch, and I can only hope that I'm able to share the story of my experience as well as I recall it, that it could even have a fraction of the impact on anybody else that it's had on me. When I first started recording this video on my 27th birthday, I thought it would be so easy to look back on the past 26 years of my life and think, thank God I made it through that year. But this video, I promise you, is not made to be sad in any way. It's made to be more of a reflection on how I ended up where I am today. And it's not meant to have any sort of woe is me type of feel, because I do truly feel so blessed to have reached 27 years of age and to be able to look back on every moment and every day and every person who's influenced who I am today and has shaped who I've become as a person. I'm so thankful for each and every one of you, and even though I might not be able to say it to everyone, I hope that this video is able to serve its purpose, but I'm just truly so grateful. Now, for those who know me, you might actually know what's been going on in my life over the last couple of months. And for those that don't know me, or that maybe do know me but don't actually know what's been going on in my life, in early October, I was diagnosed with a cancerous brain tumor. I wish I could say that this was done through running test after test, which, to be fair, I actually had been doing, but this was more so of just divine timing, which wound up with me in the emergency department at the hospital across from my apartment due to what I thought was just dislocating my shoulder. I was rushed into the emergency department with a shoulder fully dislocated backwards, and it had happened because I had fallen when I had had a seizure in the sauna, and I thought that I was just there to get my shoulder put back into place. But looking back, I probably could not possibly have been much more wrong. And when I left the hospital the next morning or the next afternoon, I left with two things, which was a shoulder that was finally put back into place, but also a newfound diagnosis of a cancerous brain tumor, which is called a glioma, and also a decision to make on how I wanted to move forward with the rest of my life. I was essentially given three choices, which was either to have a surgery to attempt to remove the tumor, to continue to monitor the growth of the tumor, or to perform a biopsy on the tumor to see if it was in fact cancerous or whether it was a form of MS instead. But at the end of the day, for myself, there was only one way that I was going to truly be able to actually move forward with my life, and I made the decision that I was going to have a surgery to attempt to get it out of my head and just to rip that bandage off. Fortunately, I was back in the hospital 10 days later for the surgery, and 10 days later was on October 14th, which was exactly 2 months before the day of my birthday and the day that I started recording this video. And I was in there with an attempt to remove as much of the tumor as possible from my head. I'm going to skip over kind of that 10-day window in that portion of my life, and I wish that I could say it's because it's not important. I truly do think it was probably some of the most important moments in my life and some of the most important moments in other people's lives, as they were able to support me and be there for me when it felt like there was only darkness around me. But that's the point of this video, is that I do want to remind myself that even when it does feel like everything is in the dark, there is light, and sometimes you just need to work to find the switch. And if you can't find the switch, there might be people around you that can help you find the switch. In those 10 days, I was so terrified for what my life was going to look like, not only pre-surgery, but also post-surgery. And I had questions running through my mind of, what would my life look like if the surgery went well? What would my life look like if the surgery didn't go well? Was I going to need to undergo further treatment after the surgery? Would my personality entirely change because of the surgery? Would I lose people that are important in my life? And endless other questions. And now that I do know what some of these next steps look like for me, I find that this video is even more important to record, and I'm so thankful that I put down so many notes ahead of time to look back on. But I do want to record this just to remind myself that no matter how tough times can be, and in any time of struggles and fear and pain and hardship, that I'll be able to look back on some of these notes and remind myself that I was able to make it through certain moments in my life, and that I can make it through these moments too. The one thing that I didn't really realize is that I was so worried about what my life was going to look like after the surgery that I hadn't even been thinking about what my life looked like before the surgery. And I didn't understand that my personality had actually been changing for the last 5+ years of my life without me even knowing. To think back and to have the opportunity to reflect on how many people have been by my side over the last 5+ years of my life, let alone just the last couple of months of my life, that have not only impacted who I am today, but who have supported me through tough times today and tough times over the last 5+ years of my life, has been crazy. And to then realize the number of relationships and the people that I've met over just the last couple of years while I've been affected by a brain tumor is even crazier to me. And it has me so thankful and so grateful to still have been able to develop those relationships with people around me, and to still call so many of them important factors in my life and who I am today. Now, there's a quote by Confucius that my best buddy sent to me, which essentially says something along the lines of, everybody is born with 2 lives, and their second life doesn't begin until they realize that they only have one. For me personally, I realized that my second life began the second that I got through that operating room, and being able to reflect on that moment and reflect on what my first life meant to me and how it's going to shape my second life is so important, and has me so grateful to be blessed with the opportunity to reflect on that. In my first life, I felt lost. I didn't love myself. I didn't know where I was headed, and I didn't know even where I wanted to end up. And I woke up realizing that there had been symptoms physically that were miraculously lifted from me, where it felt like my vision had improved, my hearing had maybe gotten better, and I had actually fully regained a sense of feel and touch in my left hand that I'd complained about for years on end leading up to that moment. And although I said at the beginning that I found this tumor through timing rather than through testing, does not mean that I had not been going through test after test, trying to understand and figure out why I didn't feel myself. But as I went through test after test, I began to hear the same conversation and the same dialogue of, oh yeah, test looks good, everything's fine, you're all good, which felt like it was confirming that this was what my new life was going to look like. And it made me feel like I was further from a solution rather than closer, which frustrated me so much. And I went through times where I just begged that I would have an answer and hear just one test say, yeah, this came back wrong, or this came back and didn't look right. But looking back on that and understanding that every moment of struggle, pain, and hardship has now allowed me to feel how I feel today and be who I am today, makes me understand that there's purpose and intention behind everything in our lives. And that even though on the surface you can feel like you're going through some of the most negative moments in your life, there truly is light in what feels like the darkest times in our lives. And there is the opportunity to look at life in a positive way and to understand that as long as you have the right attitude and the right perspective, and as long as you have the right support network, which I've found through God, through my friends and my family, you can get through it and you can find a positive way to look at things. Now, to go back beyond my first life and into what I would consider to be my second life, I'm happy to say that I have found my faith in God. I'm confident and comfortable in having open and transparent conversations with people. And I understand that what matters to me the most is the relationships with people rather than the easily measurable factors of success, like money and popularity and standing. And that's not me trying to say that what I value is more important than what other people value. And it's not up to one of us to judge what the right values are and what the wrong values are. But speaking personally, I can say that I am so thankful to now truly know what I value in my life. And to understand that I probably would not have made it to this point in my life without going through the pain and the suffering of the last 5 years of my life. And now to be able to spend time reflecting on how I felt then compared to how I feel now is so important to me. And it's something that I would never want to take away from anybody that's able to experience it. I've said it to a few of my friends now already that I would never wish the pain, fear, suffering, and unknowns of an experience like a diagnosis of cancer on anybody. But if I could wish the clarity, the purpose, and the perspective on anyone, I would wish on everybody that's been in my life at one point or has helped to shape who I am today, because I'm so grateful to be at that spot now. And I feel so confident in myself moving forward that regardless of what takes place, what news I'm given, what negative or tough news I hear, I'm so confident in my strength and God's plan for myself that there's not a worry in the world about what will truly take place and how I'll be able to find happiness out of some of the toughest situations. And I'm so thankful to have had, over the last couple of months, friends, family, and God beside me to support me and to walk me through the darkness when it felt like there was no light. But beyond that, to be able to take a step back further and understand the importance of every person that has surrounded me and supported me while I was in a battle that I didn't even know that I was in, while I tried to figure out myself, understand why it felt like there was a wall in the way of me becoming who I wanted to be has me so thankful for each and every person that supported me along that way. And there's some people that I'll never be able to thank, and I hope this video can serve its purpose, but I'm truly so thankful for each and every one of you. I just finished reading a book that's called When God and Cancer Meet, which has really helped me to reflect on my diagnosis, my understanding of what's important in life, and my understanding of how to approach some of the most negative moments in our lives. And it references another book that's written by Charles Swindoll called 10% of life is what's actually happening, and 90% is how we react. And I think that there is so much that can resonate with each and every one of us when it comes to our perspective and our attitude when facing adversity and when going through what feel like it's the toughest moment in our lives. Because with the right attitude and the right perspective, each and every one of us has the ability to play a crucial role in someone else's life. And we may have already done it, we may have not, it might have happened yesterday, it might happen tomorrow, but that's the beauty of life on earth. And that really resonated with me, being able to read that. It's helped me in times of not understanding what my life is meant to be about. It's helped me find more purpose in my life and to understand what does truly matter. And it has me so excited about looking ahead to what the rest of life has in store. Now, I might leave this video at this point, and I am going to do my best to continue to share my journey as I live it. Whether it's recorded or not, I can promise that I do plan to continue to move forward in my newfound direction and aim to focus on what truly matters in my life, which are the relationships with the people that I love. And I do truly believe that there will be a moment in each and every one of our lives that act as essentially a catalyst that will allow you to understand what's important and what's not, and why things are considered to be known as the little things or the small stuff. Everybody goes through their own struggles each and every day, and some of them might not be as blatantly obvious as a cancer diagnosis and might not smack you across the face like the door of a sauna while you're having a seizure. They might not even come through a conversation of understanding that the tumor that you thought was removed may be growing back at a faster pace. But I do hope that those signs will hit you, and that you'll be able to approach those signs with the right attitude and the right perspective, which will allow you to face adversity with strength and with faith and with the support of everyone around you. And I do hope that each and every one of us can get to the point of loving ourselves, loving our lives, and sharing that love with other people, because I do truly think that that's what true wealth would be considered to be. I think it's probably cliche to say, but there's a reason it might be cliche. I hope that everyone can live for the moment and live in the moment, because life can hit you pretty hard if you look too far ahead. So much love to everyone, and stay sweet.